I'm never happy with the first 10 seconds. Anyways, hey, this is Vu. Today I'm going to be doing a demo review here for ShadowPam. Two things. First of all, I'm going to be streaming Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, PST, that's 7 p.m. Eastern, fucking whenever it is in Europe. Monday to Friday, every day for a few hours now, because I just want to get back into streaming. And I want to play the game more, so streaming motivates me to do that. Other thing I want to mention, I get a ton of submissions where people don't send me their alias. So there's two things. First of all, send me your goddamn alias. And second, please try to not send it as a Steam run game file. Download it, upload it to something else, and that way it won't expire. Because a lot of people's are expiring, and I can't do that. So if you sent me a Steam run game, and I haven't done it yet, resend it as like a media file or something else. So ShadowPam, this guy is DMG, I believe, and actually ShadowPam is LEM. So this is going to be an LEM review. And by the way, guys, I definitely do LEM or like lower level reviews, but I've only got 2 submitted so far that are below MG1, and both of them didn't send me their alias. So it's like I can't. Okay, so on plat here with armor. I don't necessarily like having armor when you're on plat like this because, especially in this exact position, they can only see your head. So it's like having armor is completely useless. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, I guess, if you prefer to play with armor. There's nothing specifically wrong with it. However, if you know you're going to be playing here for the whole round if they're hitting A, I'd prefer to have nades, because not only can you deal a little bit better with people that are hitting up onto A plat, you can also retake a bomb site a little bit more easily if you have a couple flashes, especially because most of the team is running armor here, so you're gonna have like no flashes to retake B, so having a few could seriously help. And also when you're on plat, you got 2 guys pushing towards long, right? That's what they're doing, so your main goal is just to delay for rotates, especially because you have 2 guys in B. You're just solo here, you're just trying to delay, get a couple kills, and try and just allow your team to rotate a little bit. So having a few flashes and nades would definitely help with that. Because look, they're running up at you, you have no head armor, and they can only see your head. So it's like your armor doesn't even matter right now, right? But this is, of course, a good position. One thing I don't like is kind of getting stuck beside that box like that. Always stay, with an open lane to move left and right as much as you want. Or after you got that first one, you could have jumped over the wall and gotten onto here and then played from there instead, especially when they're running up. The problem you're going to find is if this guy, instead of running back, you saw he went back, if he starts to force up on you, you're in a tough spot because he's going to be about a foot from you strafing left and right, and you can only come out from like 1 or 2 angles. It's very easy for him to kill you. Not very easy for you to kill him. But yeah, that's just all it is. Anyways, 4-on-1 now. Do your thing. Doesn't really matter. So you win that round. You go for an MP7, which is fine. The thing is, I don't really like playing aggressive on Cat. Now look here. I'm guessing you didn't know if this guy was pushing up. If you did know that he was going to be playing in this general area, then it's a little bit better. But specifically, if this guy pushed up like he did on Pistol Round, then you'd have 2 guys here. This whole area would be completely empty. And if they head up Cat and like they have Tech 9s, they flash through that smoke and push you, especially if they have armor, they're gonna kill you. You might get 1 or 2, but they're going to kill you, and then they will guaranteed get a bomb plant, and you don't want that. I'd much prefer to play back from plat, or Goose, or Ramp, or something like that. And actually, if you play there, I'd much prefer you to have an UMP instead of an MP7, or an MP, yeah, it's an MP7. Or you could even play from right here, where you play on this corner, spot them out, and then drop. The problem with that, again, is unless you have a teammate that HGZ, unless he plays like right here supporting, then they're going to get a bomb plant if they go up Cat. You need to, like, playing close range when you know they are, saving is just bad. Like look right here, they could realistically, even without armor, someone could come around the corner with a Tech 9 or even a P250, insta headshot you and get a bomb plant. Like, it's definitely something that could potentially happen. Now with that flash that you did through, of course you did just get a kill there, which is fine. But with that flash that you threw that landed and blew up right here, if you had peeked around immediately afterwards, would have been a little bit better. And the reasoning for that is you'll have the peeker's advantage, so you'll be at a little bit of an advantage. You also have the ability to peek out, spot them, say, oh fuck, there's 5 of them, and run away. Also, if you spot them here, your team does have a little bit more of a chance to rotate. However, I just don't like playing solo aggressive on Cat. Playing solo aggressive on Cat is basically a suicide mission on gun rounds or anti-ecos alike. The only reason I'll play solo aggressive on Cat is if I'm playing with a teammate where I get like boosted and peek into lower, or I push with an op, like I get boosted up here solo, and then I can go and look down to the top of mid with an op. Or I play on this ledge here and peek down and then drop. That's the only reason I'll be on Cat. Because you got to think of risk reward here. You're taking a huge risk because if you die, they're in a 5-on-4, they pick up a gun, they get a bomb plant, they have control of plat. If you get a kill, you were going to win the round anyways. Why do you need that kill? You don't need that kill. There's no reason to take that risk. You got to always be thinking about risk reward. Here, that angle is okay. What I would have preferred is if you hug the back wall. You always want to be as far from a corner as possible so that you're a smaller target, but also because if you're really close to a corner, they're going to see your arm, your wrist, then your arm, then your shoulder, then your head, then you see them. Whereas if you're back from a corner, it's like one fluid motion. You're instantly on their screen, right? So you always want to be hugging the back wall when you peek out a corner. And then you could actually peek out that corner and completely commit. Because you are in a 2v4, you know 2 people are long. Sometimes you just have to do that. You just have to frag out sometimes. And especially because what's happening here is they're going to smoke the cross and they're going to cross. And as soon as that smoke blooms, they're gonna get across, especially because they have good guns and you only have an MP7 and you have no nades. Honestly, I would hug this back wall, peek out, frag out, and try my best to get some kills, because best case scenario, I get both of those kills, then we're in a 2v2, definitely winnable. Worst case scenario, I die, but again, think about risk reward. The risk is, if you die, you were probably gonna lose the round anyways. If you get the kills, you've gone from a losing round to a winning round in like 2 seconds, right? Because now they get across, now you're in the worst possible situation, because not only do they have control of plat now, this guy can look down into CT, but also they could be coming up Cat. This guy's obviously staring at the smoke. There's like nothing you can do now, unless you get lucky, which apparently you do by getting one single kill. That was you getting lucky. You shouldn't have gotten that kill. Did the stream just shut down? It should not have. I have it paused, so I can't see if it's shut down. Anyways, okay, going into this one, you guys lost that round. You have a lot of money, at least compared to your team here. You have quite a bit of money, so I would have preferred... Actually, you did buy a P250, so that's good. I like to go P250 flash, even more than 5.7. And the reason for this is... if you hit a nice shot with a 5.7 versus a P250, you're still hitting a nice shot. You're still going to dink them. The headshot range isn't very different for the 2 guns, and you're still going to be able to hit those nice shots. The thing is, with the 5.7, I just feel like it's a little bit too random. Honestly, I do. I don't like the 5.7 particularly, so maybe that's my bias here, but I prefer to go P250 flash than 5.7, or just P250 nothing. I mean, $200 is nothing, especially because you have enough money. I mean, you can just even your money out a little bit and you'll be perfect, especially because if this guy had like 3,500, then you might not want to buy a flash, but because he bought out and these 2 people are low, then you buy a flash here, just even it out a tiny bit, and you're going to be making 1,900 in the next round plus 2,600. That's going to be 44 or 45, so that's more than enough to buy anyways. And 45 versus 4,700, not going to make too much of a difference if you think about it. However, having a single flash where you can throw a pop flash, come around the corner, get a kill, grab a gun, get away, and use that gun or give the gun to a teammate or something, that's big. That's really important. That can make or break a round. Having an extra $200, having an extra $200 in terms of like being able to buy an M4 in armor versus a FAMAS in armor, or buying your first 2 flashes, can be a big deal. But you'll be able to buy an M4 and body armor that's going to be $3,650. Then you're going to have $750 to buy nades, so you can buy a smoke and 2 flashes. If you didn't have that $700, then I mean, you either have 750 or you have 950. I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference in that regard. You just buy smoking 2 flashes and you'll be fine. Here, caught out in the middle of the open, which is not good. You should be falling back here. This is one of the things I talk about indecision a lot. This is indecision. You're just sitting in the middle of the open waiting for him to repeak. Either fall back and play towards here, or push up so you can get an angle on him and kill him. You never, ever want to let their player control the engagement, because you will always lose unless you hit an insane shot. So pushing up like that, this is better. Now, as soon as he falls back, he's again in the control of the engagement category, because he can peek up those stairs whenever he wants. This is when you have to fall back or you drop in a CT. However, the guy's right below you, so you have to fall back or you're going to die, and you just die. So now you have 4,700, and you buy head armor, not necessary. Prioritize nades over head armor every single time. So you don't buy head armor and you buy a smoke and a flash, or don't buy a kit. I mean, a lot of people are, don't be a loser, buy a diffuser, but a lot of the time it's just better to buy nades than a kit. A lot of the time, especially, I mean, I guess since you're playing A-plat, it's a little bit less necessary to have nades, because you're just mostly fragging out. However, kind of questionable. Here, definitely save your gun, fall back immediately. 2v5, never gonna happen. It's not worth it to even try to get kills there. Now you have a 5.7. Again, I do prefer to buy a P250 and flash over 5.7, but that's up to you. I feel like a flash can just be so much more helpful, or a smoke as well. They can just be so much more helpful than having a 5.7, because the P250 isn't that much worse. And there you die. That was a good peek. I'm not going to say that was a bad peek. That was definitely a good peek. You saw that guy shooting at your teammate and you peeked around the corner to try and catch him off guard. That was good. Just need to land your shot, which won't always happen, so it's not really your fault. So here, holding this angle, don't necessarily like it with an M4, just because there's the potential for one of their oppers to peek that and kill you, or for a rifler to peek that, see your head, and one-tap you, because you don't really have an advantage here. It's actually more likely that they have an advantage over you when you're in this position. And not only that, it's not like a good position. I mean, like, you're not getting any information. What you're going to do is you're going to spot someone, then drop off into here, and now they're going to have full control of Cat, right? Which I guess maybe it's good that you've got information that they have control of Cat, but it would just be better to play from back here where you can hold on to Plat, because now you have to fall off, and they could potentially have 3 guys run up right onto Plat, and they only have to deal with this guy, and they can just flash you out. So there you spot him. He's not running up. So that's an okay play. I don't really have any huge problems with it, although I prefer some other plays. It's not a terrible play. Anyways, it's just a round over. They ran out mid. You have to be aware of that. Sometimes you want to run back. Sometimes you want to run back up onto Plat and then make the whole huge loop if you know that they're out mid and they didn't smoke this off, because unless you have an opper picking that, they're actually at an advantage if they peek onto you with a rifle. So that's just a very dangerous place to be running down. Here, you're just running it. I don't necessarily like that you just run in there. I prefer to like delay it and walk and try and surprise people, but not the end of the world. Here, you're playing long. Solo long, which is kind of weird. Generally, you don't want to try and get in pit if you're soloing long. What I'll usually do is I'll try and smoke off like right here and then peek around that smoke. Or what I'll also do is I'll throw a smoke that banks off this wall and it'll land right here. And then I'll toss a flash that blows up in that smoke and then get into pit, because then they have no chance of possibly killing me and I can still see this whole area from pit. And so I haven't handicapped myself at all. Or you can throw a smoke and you can look around it, that type of thing. The thing about getting in pit, first of all, if they have a good spawn, they come right around, they will generally be able to kill you unless you throw that smoke. And second, if they rush long and you get into pit, there's no way you're falling back. So then these two guys get stuck in a bit of an awkward position, because you maybe get one and die. You're probably not getting more than one if they're like 4 or 5 man rushing. And then they immediately run up and they smoke off cross. And these guys will only be able to be like right here before they get to like right here, right? So this is going to be the T's and this is going to be the CTs. And you can probably understand that they're going to be in a bad position, your teammates are, to actually win that if that happens. Getting out of pit is definitely a bad idea. You should not have done that. It doesn't matter how well this round goes. That was a bad play. You're in the middle of the open here. That's really bad. Stay in pit. Like, don't move. Or if you want to go back, if you're having second thoughts and you want to leave, smoke off the doors and then run. Getting caught in the middle of the open there, it's not good. It doesn't matter how well that goes for you. It's just not a good play. So that flash over is good. However, it's so easy. If an Opera on their team came to that corner and that flash didn't blind him, you may... Sometimes it feels like throwing the complicated flash is going to do you better. However, most of the time, the simple flash is good. Throw that flash that banks off the roof there and lands right here. That's going to blind him 9 out of 10 times. This other flash, I don't even know where it lands. Maybe it does land well, but it's not going to land any better, and it's a little bit more inconsistent. And it's just kind of weird to throw. An Opera that came up and sat here could easily kill you a lot of the time if they did it right. Here, this angle is an angle I actually do quite like, so I quite like this because if you get blind, you can kind of fall back behind the smoke. I don't like that you're peeking out this wide. I prefer to peek out a little bit more narrow of an angle because they're more likely to peek you here. Whereas if you're holding that angle where you see them as they get out of doors, a lot of the time they're going to be looking there, right there, or they're going to be looking towards pit or something like that. They're not going to be looking right here. That's just kind of weird. But if they come out to doors and they go here, they're going to be looking here, and they will be able to see you and just hit a slight flick over and kill you, and that's just not something that I want to put myself in that position for. So you got in a full-on, straight-up engagement against an op at long range, which is just not a battle you should be winning, although you obviously did. So again, let's see where this flash lands. So that's actually quite a good flash. So maybe I spoke too soon, although, I mean, I still think that banking the flash off that wall over to your right here, off there, is a little bit better. Also, holding on this ledge here is pretty weird. Actually, I do see the logic behind it, so I don't see it as a huge problem. However, instead of holding against the back wall here, hold against the front wall, so that way if they come out, you're still going to have that advantage where you're surprising them. However, you can easily drop immediately into pit and not, because now you have, look at this distance you have between you and pit. It's pretty long. You don't want to have that distance. You want to be able to drop into pit immediately. You always want to be able to bail from an engagement the moment you see that engagement is going badly, instead of having to wait like 20 minutes. Because I'm actually thinking of making a video on this specifically, is like people that crouch too much. It's a symptom of the problem that you take too many engagements, or you force too many engagements where you're in the middle of the open here when you were playing right here. You either win that engagement or you die. You want to be on the ledge there, so if you feel like you're about to lose that engagement, you drop, right? And then you're going to remain alive for another day. Obviously, you shouldn't have rotated there, but I'm sure you know that. I mean, of course, you probably know that you shouldn't have rotated there. There's no reason to really mention it, although I obviously did. Throwing that smoke is fine on Cat. Let's see where that smoke landed. That smoke landed well, but there's why... I mean, okay, why do that? Why throw that smoke if you're not going to play aggressive on Cat? It's like kind of a useless smoke, because the thing is, I understand throwing a smoke like here after you know they've taken control of this area, but throwing this, you threw that off the very beginning of the round. That's like a wasted smoke, because it's going to dissipate by like, what, 120? They're going to have the whole round to work with. It's not actually getting anything done. That's like when you're playing on Inferno and people smoke off the top of Banana at the very beginning of the round. No, don't do that. Wait until you have information that they're going to be there, and then you're smoking them off and you're getting something done with your smoke. Peeking that angle is dangerous, but that late in the round, I don't generally see a huge problem with it. I don't know why you're rotating right now. Definitely not necessary. You're in a 5-on-4. When you're in a 5-on-4, why do this? You gamble when you're in like a 3-on-5 or a 4-on-5. You gamble towards mid like this. You don't gamble towards mid like this when you're in a 5-on-4. You're at an advantage. Just play standard. You'll win. Or you should win. And this apparently does go well for you, but I mean, it certainly had the possibility of going very badly. You don't need to gamble when you're, you don't need to gamble when you're in an advantage situation. So now, your teammate died on Cat. You have to rotate in. What I'd prefer to do is to flash in, like blow up right here, and then move around onto plat like that. Yeah, that's what I'd prefer to do. Although, of course, it's going to be dangerous to cross here. Holding this angle is just not good. They're going to have a bit of an advantage here, especially if they have an op. Not only that, but they can drop into CT and hit towards mid, especially with this smoke, and you're not really covering anything. And also, you can easily get caught out at long, especially if this guy dies. I just prefer to be on ramp or plat. It would be much better if you can. Of course, you don't have any flashes, so apparently you can't. But you should. I don't know where you wasted your second flash. So now you did get across, so this is good. You just got to be aware. This is a bad angle. You're in the middle of the open. They could easily peek out from Cat. What you need to do is you either need to go onto plat and then jump down here so that you're minimizing the amount of time that you're exposed to here. Because if they catch you when you're in this anywhere in this area, they're at an advantage. They should kill you. Or you go onto plat and you clear out Cat and then you rotate over here if they're going B. Just so that this guy, if you had a rifle, what a lot of people are going to do is they're going to wait for you to rotate into CT and then they're going to drop down and flank you. So you clearing out Cat's actually a very good idea. So now that you did spot him, one thing you could know, I mean, it's kind of a game sense thing, but you could know that he's probably not going to be there, especially with the bomb down. Why the fuck? I mean, why would he stay towards Cat? It doesn't make very much sense. Also, you knew he had an op, so why hold this angle? Because if he does go up mid, he's probably going to peek out there, and it's probably going to be him killing you. What rank is this? This is LEM. Again, you're just relying on your aim to carry you a lot. And, I mean, it will in some regards, but if you're ever playing, like, against a full team, your aim's not going to carry you quite that much. You have to recognize, like, what you should be doing is, I mean, allow your aim to carry you a little bit. You always want to recognize your strengths and use them as much as possible, but you don't want to rely on... What you're doing is not relying on your aim to out-aim them. What you're doing is relying on the fact that they're going to miss their shots, because a lot of your situations are they have to miss and then you have to hit a nice shot, which is not good. I mean, going into angles where you're like, yeah, I can probably out-aim most of the people I play against, so I'll make this peak. That's perfectly fine if you feel like you have really good aim. However, holding angles where they peek out on you and they have to miss is not good, because then you're going to find yourself hitting, like, plateauing, because, like, you'll play against better players who don't miss, and then you can't even, you're not relying on your aim, you're relying on them to miss. There, you kind of got stuck there. The goal is to not get stuck in a spot like that, but shit happens, I guess. Thanks, Royal Player. Thanks for watching. Anyways, that's a good angle to take the first shot. Don't repeat. Although, he did take a shot at you, so you know he's going to be there. One of the problems with spamming at doors is that exact thing can happen, and actually, that exact thing is kind of good. Comparatively, because what can often happen is you're spraying at that door, this guy peeks across while you're spraying at the door, and then he just kills you. It'll happen a lot. You got to be very, very cautious of spraying at doors like that. Then, at that point, as they were out mid, they knew where you were. Personally, I'd just hide behind this box for a while. Allow them to get control of here and then peek out when they have their backs turned, because they know you're in CT. They're going to be very focused on covering CT. This is a lot about, like, limited information. If they know you're in CT, they have to clear CT. They have to continually be worried about CT. So long as you are alive, just being alive is doing your team a huge favor. Like, you're doing a lot of work for your team so long as you remain alive, because you're taking one or two of their players out of the picture. If these two people have to be staring at CT because you could peek out from behind this box or over there at any time, then you've done a good job, because then this guy that subsequently died after you did, easily could have shot them in the back, or maybe he only has to deal with one guy, in which case it's a lot easier for him to get kills. So just staying alive there is going to be beneficial. Peeking out is when you know that they know you're there, is a lot of the time just going to be a suicide, and then when you die, they stop having the focus on you, they focus on your teammate, and they get some easy kills. The problem with flashing through that smoke and pushing through is exactly this. Okay, so again, you're caught in the middle of the open, you outshoot him, but what you're doing there is not relying on your aim to carry you, you're relying on him to miss you, because if he lands a normal shot, which that should be, I mean, at LEM level, that should be a fairly simple shot, you die. Like, you don't have a chance to out-aim him. Anyways, flashing and pushing through that smoke is not something I like to do, because that's going to happen every time. They're going to peek up from lower. They're going to know you're there. So if I'm going to push through that smoke, most of the time I'm going to push through without flashing. And I know it's super, super risky. However, if they're on the other side of the smoke, they're probably going to kill you anyways, especially if they're holding out here. They're going to avoid that smoke and kill you. And then your goal here to push, when you push through tons, is to surprise people that are in lower. And you're not doing that if you flash through that smoke. So that's why I would prefer not to do that. So 2-on-2 now. They have control of A. You need to rotate as quickly as possible. Teammates going long and you're going cat. Good. And your teammate just carries it. Okay. So you didn't do much there, but you didn't do anything wrong. So here, we're on pistol round. You've got armor. Watching towards lower is perfectly fine. This is a weird strat. And then you die. There, you're totally stuck. Okay, one of the things you have to remember here is this guy's looking at you from here, and this guy's looking at you from here. What you have to do is you can't. This is decisiveness. You can't just sit here. This guy will kill you. Okay, you have to You have to leave that guy and either try and kill this guy, or you like commit to this guy where you like come over here and try and commit. You have to commit to killing one of them and then running away, because what's going to happen is if you kill this guy, okay, imagine you kill that guy, you still have to deal with this guy, okay? And you can't leave the site until you deal with this guy, okay? But you don't have to deal with this guy, because if you kill this guy, you can head right on out through doors and you're in a good position. So what I would be doing there, as soon as you see this guy, you know this guy's here, you jump around this box, kill this guy, and either get into the back of site where you're delaying them for a long time, or immediately try and run out through doors. In the chat, someone has asked a couple questions here. So question number 1, I've seen many demo reviews, but I always find it hard to actually incorporate into my gameplay. There is so much information that is kind of hard. What would you recommend? Sticky notes to keep reminding me until it becomes second nature in the future? Sometimes you're gonna selectively remember certain things. If you see something, like certain things are gonna resonate with you and you're gonna always remember them. If I say things that actually completely apply to you and you've been trying to work on, certain things are gonna resonate and you will just remember them. I've never dealt with sticky notes too much in the past. However, I mean, that's not a bad idea. If you think that sticky notes would help, putting a couple sticky notes down that like are things that you want to remember like decisiveness or whatever you want to remember, anything like that, you can do that and you can put it under your monitor just to remember. But mostly when I was watching demo reviews back in the past, it was just stuff like I watched it, tried to remember it when I could, but just the knowledge leaking in, even through watching it in the background or like watching it while I was like, I used to watch a site called One Source. You can find it on YouTube. I used to watch that while I fell asleep. Okay, 100% serious. Okay, it used to like put me to sleep, and just watching it in the background, information leaks through and you're gonna remember some of it, and that's all you really need. You don't need to worry about remembering all of it. How often do you do demo reviews, and what's the procedure for getting reviewed? A long queue for it. I do demo reviews. I'm trying to do one every day or every other day, probably is what I'm doing. I'll like one every other day or every second day or every third day or something like that is what I'm trying to do. I did take a break because I had some surgery, but I'm trying to get back to it. Before every stream, I'm going to do a demo review. There is quite a bit of a queue. There's about 20 ahead. You can submit at voocsgo@gmail.com. There's a bit of a queue, but if you upload it, don't do Steam Run Game, please. Download it, upload it to mediafire.com or whatever it is, Mediafire, or any other website, Dropbox, whatever, and I'll download it, because Steam Run Games, they expire, and they're gonna expire before I get to anybody else's. So here, you won that round? Okay, great. Now your team's 3 towards times, 1's top mid. That means you're either going cat or you're going down mid. There's no reason to go towards the long. The only thing I would suggest is maybe you want to sit back here just so your team doesn't get flanked from long. Like, you can hold this angle or you can hold this angle, which is fantastic. But going into here, you're voluntarily taking a very close range engagement, which generally isn't good. Especially peeking this angle. Now, holding inside of here, like at this box, you might be able to surprise some people, and with a Mac 10, it doesn't matter too much if you die, so long as you can get some kills and make that money back. So maybe holding in here or holding behind this door would be good. However, peeking this angle is generally going to be bad, because actually a P250 is probably better than a Mac 10 in long range if they have armor. Which, of course, they don't, but if they did, it would be bad, and they have the possibility of just hitting that one-shot dink on you, which isn't something random that's rarely going to happen. It's going to happen quite a bit, actually. So you have to be aware of that. Okay, that's a lucky kill there. There's no reason to be taking this engagement. Really, your team's hitting towards B. Fall back, sit outside long, try and pick people off, or sit top of mid. This is like, I tend to call this Happy spot, because on Envious, Happy plays here, and he either goes down mid or he goes out towards long a lot, depending on where his team's hitting, and it's a very good spot, especially if your team's hitting B. You can like do a lot with that. The other thing there is, as you reloaded, you stayed kind of vulnerable. If this guy heard you reload and immediately pushed, you would have died. So you always want to be falling back into a safe spot when you reload. voocsgo@gmail.com. Yes, that is correct. So coming out with the Glock. Not really sure. I don't think you ran out of ammo in your Mac 10, did you? No, you still had some ammo left, I think. No reason to run with the Glock. Even though, I mean, running with the Glock doesn't make sense for so many reasons, because not only are you having a worse gun, but you're also making less money off the kill. Doesn't really make much sense to me. Unless you didn't think a guy was there. Forcing through long, terrible, terrible idea. One thing you have to remember, though, is as these two guys got to door, there was no reason for you to be there. Honestly, as you, I would have headed over to Cat. If 3 guys don't take long, a 4th guy isn't going to save the day and make it work. That's just kind of my opinion, especially on anti-ecos. If your 3 guys can't deal with the people they have there, that means they probably like 4 or 5 man stacked, and you being there isn't going to make a difference. You want to be like going a different direction. I know that's not always correct, but it's correct more often than it's incorrect. So I would prefer to go down Cat in that situation, because you have only because you have a Mac 10 and you can get some kills and you can like kind of do work with that as you have a Mac 10. Now here, your teammate just planted the bomb for Cat, so instead of actually being here, because I see you're dropping, but instead of actually being here, I would have preferred to have you play on Cat, because this is a close range angle, which is fairly good with the Mac 10. You want to be trying to surprise people, so maybe you actually play in this corner, maybe you play on the stairs or something. You try and surprise people from close range, and then your teammate can come over and help, and then you can have 2 guys on Cat. And the fact that they're on an eco, even though they do have some guns here, is going to mean that they shouldn't have four nades. Like, realistically, on an eco round, they're not going to have 2 smokes and 2 flashes. That just blows my mind that they actually have that. So you can usually assume that they're going to have no smokes on an eco. I mean, generally. So playing on Cat would be perfectly fine. Or even you could play Cat and Plat, but the problem with that is you're kind of playing solo. But I mean, of course, you're playing solo here right now as you drop into CT, so it wouldn't be any different. Now you know he's towards long. If you know he has a Galil, then pushing through the smoke is probably a bad idea, but if you think he has a pistol, then it's probably fine. Because then you can just take a semi-long range engagement against someone like that. Peeking this angle is never going to be a good idea, so don't peek it. Okay, you do peek it? Bad idea, don't do that. It's just never going to be a good idea. It's just, especially with the Galil, it's never going to be a good idea. Anyways, coming out now. I don't like that because you're the guy that needs to pick up the bomb here. B site is clear. So there's two things you can do when you know your teammate has control of B site and you're in a 5-on-4. Number one, my personal favorite, you go get the bomb and then you go to B. Number two, my personal second favorite, I guess, stay in long and wait, okay? Because if your teammate has control of B, which he does, their long player has to rotate, and it looks like you had some idea that he was long. What you want to do, delay for another 15 seconds. If nobody moves, then you go out, because there shouldn't be anybody long, because anybody that's still long when your team has control of B is a fucking idiot, okay? So don't even worry about that. If he's long after another 15 to 20 seconds and he kills you, that's not your fault, that's his fault for being completely retarded. Because realistically, if they have control of B, okay, so I'm going to explain that. If you have control of B, they had one guy on plat, one guy in CT, and one guy mid. This guy in pit should rotate off and at the very worst be around here. He should not be in pit. It's bad. Or he should push through. He actually could have pushed through, and that would have been your advantage as well, as if you just held that angle. I don't generally like holding behind this box. It feels like you're kind of trapping yourself. I prefer to go to back plat. Or if you have 5 guys in B, oftentimes you kind of do have to push out through doors because 5 guys in D is a little bit too much. But it doesn't really matter, I guess. So here you're sitting in long again. And they smoke it this time. There's no reason to let your position be known, especially because your team has control of B yet again. You can just kind of sit in there and wait out that smoke. Although I don't blame you for spamming through that smoke. I have done that before. But now you have to be aware that they know where you are, so they're going to be waiting for you a little bit, and your flank is going to be a little bit worse. Personally here, instead of going back and watching this angle, I would run. As you saw this guy, you did see him run over this way. I'd run up cat and then drop behind, because if this long guy runs back, you'll get up right behind him. If he pushes out long, it doesn't really matter because you'll already have killed their guys rotating. Now, of course, you are in a 5-on-3, so this is all kind of not necessary because your team, if they're any good, should have won that round. There's no reason for them to have lost that round. None. Or there's no reason for them to at least not have been able to delay for your rotate if you rotated in a reasonable period of time. That guy got kicked by console and rejoined. What the hell? I've seen people complaining about that. Anyways, 2-on-1. Take this engagement. Yeah. Okay, so taking that engagement, you kind of stuttered out. You went out, and then you're like, back in. You need to take that engagement right away because he's trapped on this wall. Good engagement to take. You can get that kill, and then you can win the round. After this guy killed your teammate, you were kind of stuck in a bad spot. I don't blame you for that at all. However, the only way you win that is if you peek in and then kill this guy, because this guy has no angle on you, but there's no angle where you can get away from that guy. You always want to be trying to isolate angles as much as possible, where you're only open to one guy at a time. I'm sure you already know that, but that's an important thing to remember. So there again, that's something that's somewhat common with you, is you're open to multiple angles at the same time. You got to make sure you're always exposed to as few angles as possible while getting your job done. Okay, so you got shot from low. That's not really your fault, but one thing you want to try and do is make as little noise as possible while you're rotating from long, so that they don't know for sure that you're gone from long. If you're just like walking down mid and they don't even know for sure if you're gone from long, they have to still commit, like, limited resources. They have to still commit a player over to long if they don't know for sure that all your members are not long. So taking that engagement, I personally wouldn't do it because I feel like it's a losing engagement. But whatever, now you're 5-on-1, so yeah, that was good. Your team grouped up. You were 5-on-2, your team grouped up and went together in one area. That's perfect. When you're in such an advantage, 5-on-2, 5-on-3, just group up, take one spot, and you'll trade kills. At the worst, they'll get 2. But I mean, if you go 2 for 1 and then 2 for 1 in a 5-on-2, obviously you win. So there's no reason not to. Pushing out mid through a smoke, kind of unnecessary. There's so much time on the clock. You could have just delayed and waited that smoke out. There's no reason to really do it. It's not like these guys. If these guys were in B, if these guys were like here, then maybe pushing through the smoke makes a little bit of sense. But because they're just sitting in tunnels, this guy's falling back. This guy, this guy was in mid over here. I think he was like right here, and you were here. There's no reason to push through a smoke. It's just unnecessary risk. I don't know why you stopped planting. That was kind of unnecessary there. Just continue planting, finish the planting, and go on. Okay, so you died there. Whatever. Anyways, match point. You have an AK again. Peeking across this angle is bad because any good opper that's opping that is going to kill you, even if you jump. However, if you expect them to be saving because they did force buy on the previous round, then you don't really have to worry too much about that. Yeah, going towards cat here is fine. Did you get flashed up? Yeah, you got flashed up. Okay, that's perfect. Although, I mean, your flash was like 20 minutes ago, so you kind of have to throw your own flash if you don't have a flash from your teammate there. Personally, I like to throw it on top of this box and then peek out in front of it, because then they're either looking at this flash and they get blind, or they turn around and it's a free kill for me, generally. 3-on-3. Walking across this angle is generally never going to be bad, or never going to be good, unless for some reason you know they're only in CT. Generally, there's going to either be a guy elevator here, or a guy plat, or a guy ramp, or a guy car, or a guy... Say, he's going to be in one of these general areas, in which case any of them is going to mean that you are in a worse position walking than you are running. There's no reason to walk. There, showing more of your body feels like a bad idea because you do have an AK, so you have him outgunned. Showing more of your body only makes you an easier target, although it does make him an easier target, so maybe you feel more comfortable with that. However, honestly, I try and hug the back wall, just forget about that engagement, and then start to run over there. Or, I mean, I just continue to tap at him, because the AK has a quicker rate of... recoil reset, so you can shoot a lot more bullets than he can. Also, you're in a better position there. You dying there is a problem, because a 3-on-1 is a position where the opponent's probably not going to be able to win that.
And I know what they like.
Base burn dog, thank you for following. Okay, so a 3-on-1 is a position where this guy, this CT, probably not going to win it. However, a 2-on-1 is a position where you certainly could win it. So like a 3-on-1 is not winnable, but a 2-on-1 certainly is winnable. See what you want to do there. I can't really fault you for dying because it was kind of the position you were put in, but you always want to be playing with a teammate as much as possible in that situation. Was I not expecting ShadowPam? Wow. Let me just go back. How long have I not been specking ShadowPam for? Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. What have I done? Okay, so let's see this round. Do I remember what happened? Went towards long, got a kill. Right? I remember that. Yeah, I remember this. Okay, so I just didn't spec him for a single round. Alright, we're good. We're good. We're good. I didn't spec you for a single round. I'm sorry. Anyways, you're doing the same thing at long every time. I don't generally like the way you're playing at long. Although, maybe if you're comfortable doing that, that's fine. But this opper here, if he peeks towards you, generally going to kill you every single time. So there's no reason to be playing this angle quite like that. Again, your gameplay style seems to be focused on them missing shots, which is bad. It's not a good play. Also, you never want to be allowing them to peek into you, because if they have a rifle, they're always going to have peeker's advantage, so you're going to actually be at like half of a second delay. You always want to be peeking into them, which gives you an easy shot to hit, at least comparatively. So when I'm holding an angle, for example, if I'm holding this corner, I'll be doing what Crypto did, where I peek out and then fall back and then peek out and then fall back and then like over and over, because then anytime anybody's there's two things that could potentially happen. Number one, someone comes out, they clear that angle, see I'm not there, they look away, and then I peek out and kill them. So you can imagine that, right? Like someone, I mean, there's better examples of that. Let's say towards where could I say, towards mid maybe, where I'm holding this angle from this corner, I peek out like to clear doors, peek back in, peek out. So you can imagine someone peeks out, clears that, and then it's like, oh, nobody's there, I'll just walk outdoors, and then you peek out and surprise them. And not only that, if someone is holding that angle, so long as they're only one angle that they can be holding, mid is kind of a bad example because they could be here, here, or here. But imagine if they could only be at doors. So long as there's only one angle you have to clear, like this angle here, then peeking out is always going to give you an advantage, because they're going to have to not only hit a nice shot, especially if you wide peek, they have to adjust their aim, but also you're going to have that advantage of like a second or two. So, nothing happening here. As soon as that Molotov lands, you can't know where it's really going to spread to. You have to assume that it's going to spread to you here, so I would jump immediately onto ramp, because what could potentially have happened is that Molotov lands correctly, it starts to fire you out, you have to jump off here and he kills you, and then it's a one-on-one, and you can definitely die there. So yeah, I would immediately fall off onto that ramp. Taking this engagement is bad. Just play with your teammate, fall back, play around this area, like this, and then toy with them, and then your teammate can support you. Taking an engagement when you have 20 health and your teammate has 30 is just not ever going to go in your favor. It's risk reward again. You always got to be thinking about risk reward in terms of peeking and taking engagements. All right, so I'm never going to be doing like multi-demo reviews. I'm going to be doing like one a day, and the reason for that is because, as I've said, I want to give every demo like my full attention. I don't want to I feel like I'm going to kind of screw people over if I do like 3 in a day, because the second and third guy aren't going to get the same attention as the first guy, so I'm not going to do any fucking demo review marathons. I'm just going to